As long as you do as I say, I will consider releasing the junior dragon woman. Very soon, the first visitor walked in. He is Dank, an antique dealer from City Silver. I heard that Lord Aiden is in charge of the construction work of the Heretical Judgment Bureau. I think it would be great if we could leverage the network of the Judgment Bureau to expand the antique trade. This is an antique short sword from the old Cine Empire, gifted to Lord Aiden for self-defense. If a store could be opened at the Judgment Bureau, I could also offer a share of the corresponding stocks to the prison. Aiden didn't directly respond, but instead shifted the conversation to antiques. You guys are really bold, daring to smuggle antiques from the forbidden area. Dank smiled hypocritically. Sir Aiden, you must be joking. How would an honest merchant like me dare to go to the forbidden area? It's the poor ones who are brave enough to do anything for money. I happen to know this person, Oreo. Initially, grandfather once arranged for him to work for Dank. In that group of people who went to the forbidden area, only one person survived in the end. When the only survivor asked Dank for his commission, he was mercilessly killed by him. Young Oreo happened to witness the whole process of him killing to cover up his crime. His grandfather told him that only when Camilla returns will our humble lives have a trace of dignity. At this moment, Aiden spoke up, saying that the construction of the Heretical Judgment Bureau needs comprehensive consideration, and I cannot accept bribes. Lord Aiden, you must have misunderstood. This sword is a token of appreciation for preventing riots in the prison. The piece of paper with several zeros inside the scabbard is meant to brighten your mood. Upon hearing this, Aiden glanced at Oreo. Then he suddenly knocked on the table. This was the secret code that the two of them had agreed on before. As long as Aiden knocks on the table, Oreo must kick the person out. But looking at the ruthless killer in front of him, Oreo couldn't help but swallow nervously. Then he trembled and spoke in a shaky voice. Please leave. The voice was so small that Dank couldn't even hear what he said. Is this Aiden, sir? This is a new book boy I have just employed. There are some words that I say that are not timely, so I specifically found someone to help me speak. Upon hearing this, Oreo finally summoned the courage. I said for you to leave, don't you understand? I clearly said I do not accept bribes. Do you want to be arrested directly? Dank was taken aback and quickly panicked, saying, I didn't expect that Lord Aiden would still be so principled. It was presumptuous of me. I'll take my leave now. At this moment, Oreo breathed a sigh of relief, but his own test had only just begun. On the other side, for District Chief wants to leave from the back door with Dank. At this moment, it caused his dissatisfaction. Being taught a lesson by a little brat is one thing, but can't I even leave through the front door? District Chief 4 laughed and said, Aren't you here to use the back door? Follow me, and you will understand everything. Soon, the two of them arrived at a room behind the prison. At this time, the room was already filled with rare treasures. These were all gifts they presented to Aiden. Dank nodded understandingly. Does Master Aiden mean that these items should not be exposed to light? Dank, boss, you seem to be a person of integrity and naturally understand the rules. But you may end up losing everything. After all, the wolves outnumber the sheep. Upon hearing this, Dank couldn't help but burst into laughter. I am not afraid of failing in competition, but I am afraid that Mr. Aiden won't even give me a chance. Although the Heretical Judgment Bureau is just an organization of the Empire, it is located in the remote City Silver. Originally, only the best young people had the opportunity to work in this small units of Dragon's Back Empire. But now, as long as you pass the entrance exam for the Heretical Judgment Bureau, it's equivalent to the whole family becoming esteemed citizens of the Empire. So is the adjacent land of the Heretical Bureau just normal land? That will be a pathway for social mobility. Are the people outside squeezing their heads to open a shop? They are trying to close off the passage and set up a toll booth. They are trying to control the pathway for people to move up in social class. This is such a crazy display of power. No matter how much they pay for the land, it's all worth it. A carriage passed by the entrance of the prison at this moment. The person sitting in the carriage is Lutz. He looked at those people who stole the cake, and he was very unhappy. If you don't see a coffin, you won't shed tears. Let's invite Aiden to watch a good show in the evening. The time came to noon. Warden Aiden directly drove away the people who had not yet had a chance to meet. At this time, Oreo also completed his first day of work. He was a bit scared at the beginning. After all, he didn't dare to look up at these people who were usually in poverty. But later on, Oreo discovered that these people were actually no different from ordinary people. At this moment, Aiden spoke up and said that they had always been just ordinary people. If the people in the slums, like you, are aware of this issue, then Camilla can be released smoothly. After all, if someone can frame her once and send her to prison, then there will be a second time. At this time, Flanda pushed the door open and walked in. She has already found a reading partner for Kim, who is 16-year-old Aya. But unexpectedly, Aiden even brought Oreo along. He thought this boy is a good seedling. Coincidentally, Oreo actually recognized Flanda. At this time, the prison's foreign guest house. Ostina received a letter from her family. Some orcs will come to City Silver to do two things. The first is to kill Aiden, to teach the humans who are holding the orcs princess a lesson. The second is to defeat Ostina herself. In the perception of orcs, once an adult female is defeated by a male, she will become their property unless a stronger challenger appears, just like the societal rules of lions. It's over, it's over. Ostina, the princess of the orcs tribe, is swayed. And the person she fell in love with is Warden Aiden. Originally, Ostina locked herself up in prison because of. She actually did it to escape the arranged marriage by the orcs family. Because the orcs family structure is extremely twisted. No matter how powerful and noble a female orc is, once she marries a male, she will be treated as a bargaining chip. And she also has to watch her husband duel with others every day. If her husband loses, it's like getting a new husband. If he wins, it's like gaining a few more good girlfriends. I really don't understand. Is exchanging for a stronger husband something worth bragging about? My ideal marriage is very simple. I earn money to support the family, while my husband cooks and takes care of the children. Speaking of this, Ostina even seems a little excited. Don't you think that seeing a husband taking care of the children is very healing? At her words, her friend coldly pointed outside. Is what you said about him true? At this time, Aiden is sending Kim and a few others to school. He is earnestly reminding the three children to study hard. Little did Ostina know, she was already stunned when she saw this scene. When Aiden helped Kim onto the carriage, he kindly asked her what she wanted to eat. She could prepare it in advance before school ended. Upon hearing this, Ostina felt like her heart had been shot by Cupid. Next comes her own fantasy time. After a busy day, Ostina returned home to find her diligent husband Aiden cooking. The couple also has an adorable child. When the child cries, Aiden will gently pick the child up. Then, he skillfully prepares formula milk for the child. Thinking of Ostina, her whole being is ensnared. She's even decided on a name for the child. Just call him Aiden Jr. At this moment, her partner timely interrupted her fantasy. I must be seeing things right? Ostina actually revealed a lovesick expression. She naturally strongly refuted. What are you all thinking? I am the princess of the orcs tribe. How could I possibly marry him? Besides, orcs and humans are still in a Cold War state. I could never marry a human. At this time, her little friend, Dear Woman, smirked and said, Then you might as well change your approach and think carefully. If you tell your dad directly that you don't want to get married, he definitely won't agree. But if you say you want to marry a human, I reckon your dad will immediately agree to let you stay single. Then you can openly go back to being a princess. However, you need to make it convincing, so that the orc spy completely believes it. Just as Ostina thought this plan was completely feasible, she realized that now was her chance to act. Dear Woman suddenly burst into laughter. But now you have no chance. The young succubus in the prison has almost captured Aiden. Ostina is not worried at all about this. As the orc princess, if she gives Aiden a chance to pursue her, he will definitely come to her on his own. The succubus's strategy is to be persistent and relentless. Even though she has been rejected all along, she has not faced any actual punishment. And she is constantly undermining Aiden's psychological defenses. Maybe one day, they will end up together. Not to mention that Succubus has the most powerful allure spell in the world. To be frank, you stand no chance at all. Succubus has plenty of opportunities. And you are only thinking about giving her a chance to pursue. Come on, you were the one begging her to fake marry you in the first place. Upon hearing this, Ostina irritably scratched her head. How would I know it would be so troublesome? Maybe we should just forget it. At this moment, Dear Woman smirked slyly and said, Don't worry, you still have me. I'll go and help you negotiate. When it's time to talk about marriage, you can just get married directly. The prison matchmakers' civil war officially ended with the establishment of the Orksteer team. The scene was given to Warden Aiden. Oreo turned out to be Flanda's neighbor. From a young age, Flanda's husband taught him how to read. At this point, Aiden spoke up. Your current salary is not low. Have you considered moving to the city with your husband? Upon hearing this, Flanda helplessly replied that her husband is a noble from the Dragon's Back Empire and depends on his wife to live a good life. For him, it's a kind of regret. Aiden found it very strange and asked, If he's a noble, how did he end up in the slums? It turns out that his elder brother squandered the family fortune, and since he has been paralyzed since childhood, he has no say in the family. But Flanda knows that all he lacks is an opportunity. If he hadn't been willing to study with me since I was young, I'm afraid I would be illiterate now. Aiden said that if there were suitable positions, he would arrange for him to try them out first. At this time, Dear Woman walked over and said to Aiden, I have something I want to talk to you about in private. Confused, Aiden asked, Why would an orc noble like yourself want to talk to me? Seeing this, Dear Woman quickly shouted, It's a very, very private matter. You, a big man, are afraid of me eating you? Come over, it won't take up too much of your time. Watching Aiden approaching gradually, Dear Woman couldn't help but tremble all over. Because she smelled the scent of mischief, next everyone will see a very awkward situation for Aiden. On the other side of the prison lobby, Ant Queen walked down the road with a sullen face. She had just been beaten up by the prisoners. At this moment, she was very conflicted. If she goes out, she will be hunted down by her mentor Gaia. If she stays, she will be bullied. Moreover, her relationship with anyone powerful in the prison is very poor. On one side are the orc nobles, who can't be bothered to pay attention to her. On the other side are the Afsh and Asina, who treat her as a joke. And there are also several people like Kingda, who have deep-seated enmity with her. As for Warden Aiden, he wishes she would die sooner. The current situation is to quickly find a powerful backer, otherwise she will sooner or later be beaten to death in prison. The pupil of the Ant Queen suddenly dilated. She saw the mark belonging to Samkina on the werewolf's body. The werewolf was now quietly staring at the big fist on the wall, which was a trace left from her battle with Ostina. Warden Aiden unexpectedly also brought up Sweet Love. A single, I like children, successfully won the heart of the orc princess. Shy Ostina directly gave away her baby tooth. But the fatal thing is that all of this was seen by the werewolf. The scene first shows Werewolf. She looked at the big fist on the wall and fell into contemplation. Before the riot, Flanda told Aiden the truth about his amnesia and asked her to protect Aiden in times of danger. This is also why she chose to fight with Ostina. She looked at the huge fist mark left on the wall. The werewolf felt ashamed for losing so badly. Just then, the Ant Queen suddenly emerged from behind. It's better not to expose the marks on your arms. The next second, the werewolf followed up with a flying kick. The poor Ant Queen instantly flew out 2.5 meters. Then Werewolf quickly rode on top of her. You've got some nerve, daring to escape. The Ant Queen wanted to explain that she is now a consultant in the prison. But Werewolf didn't listen at all. He tied her up with a belt. At this time, the Ant Queen suddenly smirked mysteriously. Do you know what the marks on your body represent? This represents the ancient god, who has been dead for more than 200 years. Its apostle has unexpectedly reappeared. Presumably, it has also gradually regained its power in the underworld. I have always admired this ancient god. Please give me a chance to serve as your apostle. Upon hearing this, the werewolf spoke indifferently. I don't understand what you're talking about. But if you dare to speak nonsense, I will immediately make your head roll. The scene shifts to Warden Aiden's side. Do you remember the werewolf that Ostina fought? She wants to find an opportunity to reconcile with you privately. After all, as a hostage who maintains peace between the two countries, it is easy for her to escalate the situation and cause war by hitting the prison guards. Aiden nodded expressionlessly, but in reality, he had many thoughts. In his eyes, Ostina was a strong representative. How could she possibly apologize proactively? At this moment, Dear Woman said again, Dominance is just the image she represents for her country. In reality, she is very fragile inside and cares a lot about others' opinions. Due to her identity, she has to pretend to be calm. In fact, who knows how many times she cried secretly at night? With that said, Aiden had nothing more to say. It turned out that she was living in a very suppressed manner, so let's call her in for a face-to-face conversation. I will try to keep my tone as friendly as possible. Then Ostina received the news that Aiden wanted to meet her. Next, you can directly enter the process of discussing marriage, but you should pay attention to human interpersonal etiquette in the early stages of a relationship. You are not allowed to directly express your feelings, as it may appear vulgar. Just make sure to convey your thoughts through subtle actions that hint at your feelings without explicitly stating them. You both will understand what the other is trying to express without explicitly saying it. On the other side, the werewolf has also found out about the true identity of Ant Queen. Poor Ant Queen has already been beaten to the point where she only has half a life left. To understand the detailed situation, Werewolf decided to personally go find Aiden and ask for clarity. On the other side, Ostina has already arranged to meet with Warden Aiden. Ostina took the initiative to speak first, saying, You know about my situation now, right? At this moment, Aiden was thinking that it was indeed quite difficult for a princess to apologize to others. So he smiled and said, You seem to be doing this for the first time. Don't be nervous, it's okay. When it reached Ostina's ears, it took on a different meaning. Why did he speak to me in such a pitiful tone? Could it be that he is not new to dating? But she considered that it was just acting, and not as serious as marrying him. So Ostina, feeling a bit proud, asked, How many people are there in your family, and where are they located? At this moment, Aiden was confused. Why did she suddenly ask about my family possessions? Has she put on the princess disguise again? But thinking of her fragile heart, Aiden had no choice but to honestly reply, I am the only one. I think there is a sweet and dragon's back empire, right? Upon hearing this, Ostina said proudly, I don't like living in human countries. So Aiden understood again. She just wants to express that she misses home. I understand the feeling of missing home. To be honest, I don't like it here either, but I think you're only here temporarily. When Ostina heard these words, it changed again. What does it mean that he doesn't like it here either? Does it mean he's willing to come back to Orc's country with me as a son-in-law? Just the thought of it made Ostina's face turn red. She was sweating a lot. What do you think of girls who sweat a lot? I sweat a lot when I'm nervous. Upon hearing this, Aiden couldn't help but freeze. Is this the real face after taking off the mask? But just chatting casually made me sweat so much. And I'm not a psychologist, so I can't comfort you. Aiden, who had no choice, could only steel himself and say, I think you are quite cute. Little did Aiden know that this sentence had completely touched Ostina's heart. She had already decided on the name for their child. Let's call him Aiden Jr. I think you are good at taking care of children. If you have the chance, could you cook and take care of the child? This sentence reminded Aiden of his daughter on Earth. So he said, Taking care of children is my biggest dream, but I probably won't have the chance. It's obvious that Ostina once again misunderstood. She said in a low and hoarse voice, "You will still have a chance." Although he couldn't understand what she was saying, Aiden still politely said, "Thank you." Ostina misunderstood again. She quickly interrupted Aiden. "It's not necessary to thank me yet. We are not there yet." After calming down for a while, Ostina said as she searched her pockets, "Anyway, it's time to give this thing to you." After speaking, she took out a tooth from her pocket. "This is my milk tooth. According to the orc's custom, after giving you the tooth, I will no longer participate in hunting. I'll rely on you to take care of me from now on." Upon hearing this, Aiden also had a naughty thought. Does she mean to disarm and stay out of trouble? Unexpectedly, there was an unexpected gain. "It seems like I'm well suited to be a psychologist. I didn't expect you to be so sincere. Rest assured, I will hold you accountable." After saying that, he took Ostina's baby tooth away. Little did they know, the werewolf hiding in the distance witnessed the whole process. The main task has been completed. Ostina decided to take her leave. "So are we good with this? Can I come to the office to find you any time in the future?" Aiden replied. "Of course you can." By now, he had fully immersed himself in the role of a psychologist. And Werewolf's heart died completely. She left here with a black look on her face. Hidden in the dark are Ostina's two bad friends. At this time, Dear Woman has not yet realized the seriousness of the situation. Actually, hidden in an even darker place is the Ant Queen. She has already discovered the key to dealing with the werewolf, which is Warden Aiden. So the Ant Queen stood in place and secretly vowed that Samkina's support must be mine. Warden Aiden's confused blind date. But it broke the heart of the werewolf, who has admired him for a long time. At this moment, the werewolf is looking at the milk tooth in his hand and thinking about something. When she lost her first tooth, the elders in the family reminded her to make sure to save it properly. Because an orc's milk tooth is equivalent to a token of love, it is meant to be given to one's beloved. And the scene of Aiden receiving Ostina's milk tooth inevitably makes the werewolf feel a little bitter. Just then, the Ant Queen suddenly pushed the door open and walked in. "It seems you are still a step behind. It is said that marriage should be between equals, and Ostina is not only the apostle of the ancient god Malbus, but also the princess of the Orcs Empire. It is normal for a mere prison guard like you to lose to her." Upon hearing this, the werewolf merely snorted coldly, then turned his head to leave. This made the Ant Queen very anxious, but you shouldn't feel inferior either. You are Samkina's appointed apostle, you just don't know how to wield its power. But I can teach you. Samkina is revered as the Spirit King, controlling the realm between life and death. Once you harness its power, you can command an unparalleled army of spirit forms. The werewolf calmly asks, "So how should I proceed? Should I first go to the forbidden area where Samkina and the evil god perished together 200 years ago to find its burial place and listen to its guidance?" Upon hearing this, the werewolf disdainfully replies, "Even if you're lying, at least be a bit more professional. Can dead people speak?" At this moment, the Ant Queen also became anxious. Don't you know the concept of gods in this world? Gods cannot be killed. Physical death and spiritual death are two different things. Physical death is just the disappearance of the deity's entity in this world, while the will exists eternally in the underworld. Our world is constantly experiencing deaths, and as long as the deceased becomes a soul, Samkina will recover some strength from this process. Because God is the law of the world itself, as long as the laws of the world are in operation, God is immortal. And now that the mark of Samkina has reappeared, it indicates that it is gradually regaining its power in the underworld. But the more powerful the entity, the harder it is to cross over from the underworld to reality. So it chose you to be its earthly agent, and your task is to completely destroy the forbidden area. At this point, the werewolf raised a question: why do I have to destroy the forbidden area? Because Samkina values the integrity of the soul, and the forbidden area evil god often splits the soul in two. But how does this concern me? And what's it got to do with you? The Ant Queen still wants to continue to manipulate her. But she was ruthlessly pushed away by the werewolf. Watching her leaving figure, Ant Queen told herself not to give up. The library of the Witch Union records hundreds of ancient gods, and only the record of Samkina is particularly favored by Ant Queen. Because only it chose to confront the Forbidden Area evil god head-on. From another perspective, the Forbidden Area evil god is its mortal enemy. In order to avoid retaliation from the Forbidden Area, and to refrain from crazily modifying weapons for self-defense, the Ant Queen has decided to help Samkina's apostle get back on track. Wait for it, you scumbags in the Forbidden Area. My Ant Queen will settle both old and new scores together. On the other side, Warden's office, underlings of Golden Teeth Lutz, invite Aiden to meet at the pub tonight. But Aiden doesn't want to go because it's almost evening, and he still needs to pick up Kim from school later. Aiden, you have to wait until evening. After all, the true beauty of City Silver can only be seen at night. The scene shifts to the noble school side. Aya has been holding up the cup all afternoon. She just asked when the class would officially begin. It caused a burst of laughter from the surrounding people. A beautiful blonde teacher smiled and said, "I know what you mean, but your so-called learning skills are for inferior schools. No matter what incredible skills they may have learned, they have just barely reached the service threshold for our noble students. Here, girls only need to learn etiquette in order to find like-minded individuals in the social circle, and ultimately carry out family resource integration. Because, in the end, we belong to the class of rule maintainers." At this point, Oreo's teacher happened to mention that above the maintainers are the creators of rules, and below are the so-called sheep. Although we cannot create rules, like emperors and ministers, we can define within existing rules. Can anyone provide an example of this? Upon hearing this, the students enthusiastically raised their hands and cheered. The definition of highbrow and lowbrow. Also, the definition of noble and base. Listening to the students' unrestrained remarks, the teacher also became excited. "You are absolutely right," he said. "We can even sell a rock at an exorbitant price to the sheep, as long as we tell them it's a must-buy for ladies when proposing. Otherwise, they would be considered uncivilized." At this moment, Oreo couldn't help but ask, "What if they really can't afford it? Does that mean they can't get married?" Upon hearing this, the teacher pretended to ponder for a moment. "This is what we, as enforcers of rules, have to do. Use your brains, and come up with the most malicious and evil words to define those who can't afford it." As soon as the words fell, the classroom was instantly filled with foul language. Only Oreo, sweating nervously, asked, "A righteous person shouldn't believe these definitions, right?" "Child, you must understand that when there is only one voice in society, even righteous people will fall into self-doubt. And we are the ones controlling the voice. Sometimes, we don't even need to promote it. The flock will defend the definition on their own. This is the power of defining authority, and we are born with this power." At this point, Oreo spoke up again, asking, "But I feel it's very difficult. After all, many people in the slums haven't even seen gold. How can they believe in this kind of definition?" As soon as the words fell, the whole classroom was filled with laughter mocking him. As a teacher, I almost laughed out loud. Sorry for my mistake. The sheep herd does not include slums. How can we keep the sheep herd constantly accepting new definitions, and then use the money to support us? That's surely just eating grass. Just let the sheep eat or trample the grass, which can give them a little sense of superiority. As maintainers of the rules, we can only have one attitude towards the grass, which is fear. After all, resources are only enough for a few people to indulge. So they can't act like humans. What we need to do is to engrave fear into their souls. Anyone who makes a mistake will be sentenced to death. They only deserve to strive for survival with the instinct of seeking warmth and fullness. And once they think of the word resistance, they will return to the nightmare of fear. Only in this way can we have enough cheap fuel to support the operation of City Silver." At this point, Oreo's eyes were already filled with tears, because he was just a plant to be trampled on. At this moment, a large number of impoverished people in the slum are being mercilessly shot and killed. The one ordering the killings is Golden Teeth Lutz. Warden Aiden quickly arrived here in a carriage. His expression turned cold as soon as he got off the carriage. "Did you call me here to witness you killing the poor?" Lutz gave a nonchalant smile. "These are just appetizers. I managed to secure the location for the Heretical Judgment Bureau, but some disobedient rats dared to send you gifts in secret. They wanted to have their cake and eat it too, but is that possible? So, I took out all the workers in their factory as a warning to these little rats." The next moment, Warden Aiden mercilessly threw a punch at him. Then, he decisively drew his own sword. Then he plunged the sword into the ground. The sharp blade was less than 2 centimeters away from Lutz's head. The cost of doing so is also significant. Warden Aiden was surrounded by dozens of gunmen, and the battle was about to begin. Warden Aiden is completely enraged now. He faced the ugly face of Golden Teeth Lutz. Warden Aiden couldn't bear it any longer and took action. The situation became tense for a moment, and the battle could break out at any time. At this moment, the leader of Golden Teeth spoke up and said, "Sir Aiden, I am a little confused. What exactly is happening?" Golden Teeth Lutz also hurriedly spoke up, saying, "I don't remember doing anything to offend you. Please clarify this misunderstanding." Upon hearing this, Warden Aiden gritted his teeth and said, "What do you think this misunderstanding is? I kindly agreed to cooperate with you and agreed to build the Heretical Judgment Bureau in the slums, but you are slaughtering the poor. What will happen when the Heretical Judgment Bureau comes here in a month and the poor seek to file complaints with the Judgment Bureau? You can leave after it is done, but I am the person in charge of the project. If I am judged as a heretic, can you save me? And you brainless people, what are you gathering here for? Isn't it just to improve social status and be respectable people? But do you know what it means to be a respectable person? At the very least, you should dress appropriately and keep yourself clean. Don't you all know it's time to sit at the table and eat now? With your uncouth behavior, looking like country bumpkins, do you still expect to do business with the Judgment Bureau?" Aiden suddenly looked at Lutz again. "Could it be that I chose the wrong person? There is only 1 month left now. I don't have time to teach a dog table manners. If you and your group still can't stop eating shit, then just disband." What surprised me was that Lutz, who was insulted harshly, actually burst into laughter. "Thank you, Lord Aiden, for this punch of yours, which woke me up. Our skeleton gang has been doing muscle business for over a decade. We've grown numb to it. But the goal of becoming a big tycoon is now within reach. Brothers, let's all stop now and leave a good impression for the future god of wealth. As long as we take down the people on this land, City Silver, they will continue to bring us money. Wearing tuxedos and drinking champagne is the kind of life we should have. So please everyone, maintain this fighting spirit and compete head-to-head with large corporate groups before the Judgment Bureau arrives." As the words fell, his subordinates were all stirred up with excitement, and the slogan they shouted the most fiercely was, "Kill Peter!" At this moment, Lutz said to Aiden, "Sir Aiden, you must have never watched the parade before. Why don't we go together and have some fun?" The so-called parade is actually a battle between big corporations and factions. The cake of the Heretical Judgment Bureau is just too big. City Silver's 2 major consortiums won't give up on this. The next month will be filled with tension. Night arrives quickly, and the seemingly calm City Silver is actually just the calm before the storm. The poor people seem to know what will happen today, so they have already closed their doors and windows early. Soon, large numbers of hired thugs gathered at the city center. Warden Aiden was seated in one of the carriages, following the rules of the Grand Parade. Whoever is involved in the fight process is not allowed to use firearms to prevent accidental injuries to the so-called VIPs. As time passed, more people and carriages gathered in the central city area, including wealthy merchants, officials, and congressmen. It is worth mentioning that during the large parade, They are not afraid of casualties. The police do not dare to arrest people, judges do not dare to hold trials. Because these political figures and congressmen can easily make them lose their jobs. Today, the two factions in City Silver are in an extreme showdown, with one of them being the long-standing capital of City Silver. The other one is the new awakening capital represented by Lutz. The gunpowder smell on both sides became stronger as time passed, and soon the big shots representing the old capital also arrived at the scene. Among them are the Peter City Silver Real Estate with Mithril Mines and the behind-the-scenes boss of the stock exchange, both of which are long-established forces rooted in City Silver. Lutz's subordinates are already eager to draw their swords, but according to the rules, it's not something that can be done casually. At this time, the boss of the Mithril Mine, Peter, has issued the order to ring the bell. The so-called ringing the bell is the official signal to start. After the bell rings, the forces of both sides roar and charge towards each other.